RX Television on rxmuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition and Liquid Sunrays. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions on diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, competitions, the provisional list for the upcoming Arnold Classic just released, and of course, taking questions on that and everything that is on your mind. As we now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, you and I just getting back from the Dubai Muscle Show. If you want to just give the audience a little primer about the last week or so and what they can expect over the course of the next couple of weeks with all the interviews that we did.
Well, Sid and I were in the parking garage of the largest mall in the world, the Dubai Mall, and we couldn't find the car. That's how big the parking garage was. And I almost missed my flight home. That was the highlight of the weekend. No, just kidding. But I did have a good time, and it was great to see you, Sid. Obviously, we haven't seen each other since the Olympia, and we kind of had a great last meal, so to speak, at that Syrian restaurant we went to, Shirak. We have to thank our good friend Mohammed for taking us there. But anyway, we had a great 2 days, obviously, of interviews. I probably did I think it was about 10 interviews and probably 9 of those interviews was one of probably the most popular people in the bodybuilding industry. And the funny thing is that, it's ironic that I had to go all the way to Dubai to interview Kai Green. Chris Aceto said it best. It was like you had to subpoena Kai Green to testify, and he still took the Fifth Amendment, even after all was said and done. So that interview is up, obviously. Kai is Kai, and I love interviewing him, but you always get the creative answers from him. We really didn't get a definitive answer whether he will be in the Olympia or not. It seems like he wants to be, but there's a lot of obstacles, obviously, still in the way of that. We finally got to hear what happened between him and Phil on that 2014 Mr. Olympia stage, and you guys can hear that story as well. There's the 2-part Kai Green interview is up on the RX Muscle site. One of my most fun interviews that I did the whole weekend was with Dorian Yates, where I kind of got to play fanboy and ask him questions about training that I always wanted to ask him back in the 90s. That 2-part interview will be up Monday and Tuesday while I'm in the hospital getting my shoulder replaced. So obviously following that will be the Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman dual interview I did together. We have Branch Warren and William Bonac, and obviously Dana Lynn Bailey was the first interview we put up, which was also super popular because a lot of people haven't heard from Dana. They don't know what's been going on with her. People forget she won the Olympia, the first Miss Women's Physique Olympia. Yeah. So she gives us a little update on what she's been doing up in that Montana ranch that her and her husband Rob moved out to. And the whole weekend was great. I did probably the longest interview I did the whole weekend was with Kevin Levrone, which was a real historical interview. I think people are going to really like that one too. I even got Kevin doing impressions of Ronnie Coleman, and it was fun. So the week, I really enjoyed myself out there. Sometimes it's hard to get away from the family and all the responsibilities, but I want to thank my wife for being understanding and kind of, taking over all the responsibilities when I was gone. And I know you felt the same about your wife. But we got some great content, and you guys got to have the ability now to watch that content over the Christmas and New Year's holidays, especially while I'm healing up a little bit. And that's really why I put forth that effort to do it. I want to thank Nick Adams, obviously, for bringing us out to Dubai. From the response we got, I would have to believe that there's a good chance that we'll be back there next year as well. Yeah,
of course. We want to thank Nick and his partner Craig for taking such good care of us, allowing us all access throughout the entire show, throughout the entire weekend. So again, thank you for having us out there. But Dave, you quickly glossed over it. You mentioned your shoulder surgery. Yeah. Fans have been wondering when it is, and once you have your surgery, what fans can expect over the course of the next few days while you recover.
Yeah, well, we're pre-recording a couple things so that you guys don't have any loss of content. We'll have an Ask Dave up the week of my surgery. Obviously, Muscle in the Mornings will be up, and we'll have a couple of rants that I probably did. I might even do one from my hospital bed. I think I did one last year. So that might be like a good one, right, from out from surgery while I'm on some strong narcotic pain meds. I'm getting my shoulder replaced. As you guys know, I had the left one done last year. It was a very successful surgery. I feel great. My shoulder, I got full range of motion back in it. I have no pain. So it was a matter of time before I did the right one. I just wanted to wait until my daughter was just born last year. So I had to kind of wait a whole year until she kind of was a little bit more mature. And I wasn't needed quite as much at home because I'm kind of going to be out of commission for probably 6 weeks, of using this arm. It's really not, it doesn't really, there's not really that many restrictions other than the fact that they don't want you lifting heavy stuff with the arm. So that, takes you out of commission a little bit in terms of responsibility. But I should be back. I'm planning to be back in action doing, content, the following week. Knowing myself, I might be back even before that. But we have plenty to show you guys. When I came out of the hospital this past Wednesday for my pre-surgical testing, who do I run into? Dressed in a police officer's uniform, which was actually a security uniform. It was our good friend, John Hansen. John Hansen now is working, I guess, in security at the Tampa General Hospital. So he's off on Monday and Tuesday, but I'll still be there on Wednesday. He's going to come visit me on Wednesday, and I'm sure we'll take another picture together. On my Instagram, I put up the picture I took with him in his uniform. So that was always fun. I always love running into people in weird places, and John's a great guy, one of the best historians in our business now. So it was nice to see him. And we'll see who comes and visits me. You never know. Boston Lloyd came last year, brought me some Chinese food. There's no obligations, but if you're going to come, bring food. That's all I ask. Yeah.
With that, let's get to the questions. Again, the first few questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Let's go to, well, there isn't a name attached to it. Dave, will adding Proviron to my TRT provide any benefit?
People are obsessed with Proviron, and I don't know if it's because it's readily available now. It's cheap. I don't know what it is. Back in the day, we thought that Proviron, because Bill Phillips told us this in his anabolic reference guide, we thought that it blocked estrogen receptors. It doesn't, okay? It's not an aromatase inhibitor. It doesn't block receptors. I'm not really sure what it does. It's an androgen, but it doesn't have any anabolic properties. So theoretically, it could help store glycogen. I don't know why anyone would want to add it to their HRT. Some people are on the impression that it it knocks testosterone off the binding proteins, freeing up more free testosterone. Haven't seen that. I've looked at blood work of people who are on it, haven't noticed any more than that. So to me, it's just you're adding more toxicity to your program because it is an oral anabolic steroid. It does have toxicity issues. You don't want to be taking it long term. It doesn't have any anabolic properties. No reason to take it, as far as I'm concerned.
Second question, again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. A good suggestion here. Dave, you posted a picture of you at the 1996 Nationals. Could you discuss your dieting method you used back then and possibly put an outline in the app of your old diets?
Yeah, I could. The Dave Palumbo Experience app is a little app that we created about a year and a half ago. We just updated, so if you're an app member, you're going to have to subscribe to the new one, especially if you're more so if you're an Apple user in the App Store there. But it's a conglomeration of all the writings and all the video that I've done over the years. And what it enables people to do is find everything that I've done in one place. And that's something that's been difficult for people, to find all the information. So we created a library of all my stuff that I've written and talked about. And then what we did was we said, we have to make this app special. So we're going to give the people who subscribe to the app for $29 a month unlimited access to me to ask questions. The best questions I will take, and I will do a Q&A video each week. And that will be exclusive to the app members. They'll be able to watch that. But anyone who asks a question, I'll answer the questions, and they'll be put up in a generalized forum so that people on the app can see everyone's questions and my answers to them, which is an amazing, type of situation. It's like you have me as your coach for $29 a month, and that's great. Obviously, I'm not writing diets for you and stuff like that, but I have a lot of diets in there and workout programs and all kinds of technical stuff that you can use and study. And I think that's really, I always wanted a study guide. When I was coming up, I was like, man, if there was only a library of all the stuff that I wanted to know, from diet to drugs and supplements, and if there was a place I could actually ask someone who knew more than I did. And that was frustrating to me. I had to find guys like Scott Conley, and I had a doctor friend, but this app gives you the ability, and it's affordable to have that luxury, and it's always changing and being updated, and it's not a static thing. We're constantly adding new content, and it's building on the content that was there previous. So I think that I have no problem putting up some old diets. Yeah, I posted on Instagram a picture of myself at about 315 pounds. I think it was kind of like when I really first hit 315. This was back in 96, or 95, 96. And people, really responded favorably to the picture. And look, we all love big, freaky bodybuilders. I was a big, freaky bodybuilder, and at that weight, I was very hard. And I think that's what impressed a lot of people about it, I always kept my conditioning. And it wasn't because I was trying to diet, I just had my metabolism was just insane. So I couldn't eat enough food to sustain it. And that was a gift I had, I guess genetically, that was my gift.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. Again, if you're not following us, our handle is official_RXMuscle. First question, Dave, you gave a shout out to our friend, your client, Mohammed, for an excellent Syrian dinner, your last night there. Well, somebody else who treated us to an excellent sushi dinner in Dubai was IFBB Pro Samir Trudy, and he wants to know, post-workout, what protein source is the best? Egg white, protein powder, or whey isolates?
Post-workout, I always like to use a whey isolate just because it doesn't really require any digestion. So as soon as you kind of get it into your stomach, your body's already absorbing it and assimilating it. So, assuming that, like I said, a lot of people can't handle lactose, and it gives them gas and diarrhea, and it upsets their stomach. If you use a good quality, high, I guess you could say high, what's the word I'm looking for? High efficiency protein, that has, using the most modern filtering techniques, that's going to be the highest extraction rate. That means you're going to have the least amount of lactose and other stuff in it. Your body should tolerate it well. I'm probably the most lactose intolerant person you'll ever meet. And I created Isolize from Species Nutrition out of a need that I had. I basically made it for myself. I'm kind of a selfish guy at heart. But I'm willing to share my selfishness with the rest of the world. So I created Isolize. I said, look, I went to the manufacturer. I said, what's the highest grade isolate you can create? And at the time, it was a 90%. And that's when we had 27 grams of protein per 32 gram serving size. And then I found a 92% just recently over the last 2 years, and we kind of changed the formula and we made it even better. Now we're at almost 28 grams of protein per 32 gram serving size. So there's no lactose essentially in there. There's trace amounts that you just can't get out, but nothing that's going to negatively affect people's stomach. So assuming that you're using a high-grade whey isolate that's not going to bother your stomach, it's a no-brainer that that's what you should use post-workout because it's going to be absorbed so quickly and efficiently, okay? And if you want to add a carbohydrate source to that, like a high molecular weight carb, we make a product from Species called Carbolize. That's a high molecular weight amylopectin. You can restore glycogen to the muscle as quickly as you're restoring protein to the muscle or putting the protein into the muscle to get the protein machinery working again. And that's what I always believe is the best post-workout. Now, when you're dieting for a show, post-workout nutrition is not that important to get it in that quickly because the strategy is different when you're dieting. When you're dieting, it's just a matter of getting the protein in there so you repair, but speed of which you do it in is not as vital as when you're in the off season and you're trying to maximize muscle gains. I think that's important. Yeah, so I want to thank Samir Trudy for taking us to that place. We had a lot of fun there. We ate a lot of sushi, and we had a good time. And of course, my other client, Syed, you weren't there, Sid, on Thursday. He took me out also to the Dubai Mall, except we ate at P.F. Chang's, and we had a great meal there. So 3 great meals, the 3 great nights I was there.
Another IFBB Pro chiming in, another good friend of the show, Georgina Lona, and this is a question a lot of people have had. Of course, the Arnold Classic provisional list for all the divisions released except 212. There will not be a 212 class at this year's Arnold Classic, and she wants to know why isn't there going to be a 212 Arnold Classic?
I'm pulling out my phone right now, as you can see. I texted Bob Lorimer right before the show because I did a video with Sean Ray about that, and well, not about that particular. We talked about the Arnold Arnold list that was released, and we noticed that there was no 212. I had heard there wasn't going to be one. And I asked Sean why he thought there would be one. No one really knows the answer. They're not getting rid of the 212 division. There's more 212 shows than there are open shows now, and for 2019. So I don't know what the impetus was for Arnold and the Lorimers to get rid of the division. I don't know if it's permanently. I don't know if it's just for this year. We haven't gotten answers for that yet. And it's a little disturbing to me. because I think it's a super popular division. I love it. I think it's the fans love it, and the competitors obviously love it. It doesn't make sense. It's a strong division. It wasn't like they were getting rid of women's bodybuilding because there was no competitors left. This was a very healthy division. We have a lot of new talent coming up in it. We have the Derek Lunsfords of the world, where people are talking about as the next coming. Kamala Gardner won his pro debut at over 40 years old at the Arnold Classic and won the first one. His first title there. So I don't know. I thought it was something that we were going to see running strong for many years to come. Obviously, the Arnold people thought differently. And like I said, if I get a reply from Bob, which I'm sure I will at some point, I will reveal that.
As Dave mentioned, he just wrapped up a chat with Shawn Ray. That video is going to go live tomorrow early, let's say late morning tomorrow at rxmuscle.com, and of course, the RX Muscle YouTube channel. Let's go to UC Summer. I hate this show more than Kai hates answering questions. Of course, part 1 and part 2 of our Kai Green interview from the Dubai Muscle Show right now at rxmuscle.com. Dave said quad shots are a no-go. What are his site injection preferences anywhere aside from delts and glutes?
Yeah, there's another lunatic who injected his quads with, I don't know if it was just bad gear or if it was a bad shot. The guy in Thailand, do you remember that? Have you seen that YouTube video?
And the bodybuilder, I believe?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the guy, but not really, because I did a video about a year ago, and I was ranting about how don't shoot your quads. I was screaming at the camera. And it's funny because one of my good friends and clients, Martinez Hagens, had a problem with his leg right after that. And he's like, I don't even know. He didn't see the video. But this guy definitely had to see the video because everyone saw the video in this industry. Guys, when I give advice, and I tell this to my clients all the time, when I give you a list of stuff that you should be using or following or eating, there's a reason. It's because it's tried and true tested. I don't give advice like some of these other guys do, fluff advice that's meaningless. I'm like Herman Melville was a writer. He wrote Moby Dick. He said that every line that's in a novel that you write must be integral to the storyline. If it's not, get rid of it. Even though you're in love with what you're writing, get rid of it. I'm the same way about bodybuilding. I don't tell you guys something to do something or not to do something unless it's integral to the theme of getting big and getting ripped and staying healthy. Okay, so if I tell you don't shoot your quads, don't shoot your quads. Don't say, oh, Dave kind of knows what he's talking about, but not really. Just listen to me. I don't care if the doctor gives you a shot in your quads when you go in there and you get vaccinated. I'm not going to even argue with that. Don't do steroid shots or GH or anything into your quads. It's a very dense muscle, okay? It has a lot of nerves and a lot of arteries in there. If all it takes is one bad shot, bacteria gets in there, it's a nightmare. Antibiotics have trouble penetrating into the quads, especially if you have very thick muscle there. So stick with glutes, delts, lats. You could even do your arms for all I care. Don't shoot the quads.
Another question about the Arnold Classic. This one from Mr. 0891, and it's one that a lot of people have been asking. I don't know if you and Sean specifically discussed this, but Sas Heyrati, an omission from the Arnold Classic list. Did you discuss that, and what do you make of Sas not being on that list despite having beaten quite a few of the bodybuilders on that provisional list?
Yeah, I wasn't aware that he was even applying for the Arnold, so we didn't bring it up because we didn't realize that he had applied and not gotten in. So yeah, he's a great competitor. I don't know why they would have left him off. And usually the Arnold people like to go with an international flair to the lineup, sure. So that would have certainly been an easy plug and play to me. I don't know. Maybe he just got lost in the shuffle. I don't know who. Back in the day, as far as I know, when I was involved in the early 2000s, what they would do is they would send out like a list of potential bodybuilders who have applied for the Arnold, and they would send it to all the media organizations, Flex and Muscle Mag and Muscular Development, and you'd have to check off. You definitely want this person in. Maybe no. And because I know, because Bleckman, when I worked for Muscle Development, he would do the bodybuilding. Him and I would do the bodybuilding lineup together, and then he would let me do all the other ones myself because he didn't know anything about the girls or anything like that. So I would, check off who I wanted, and then we would send it in. And ostensibly, they would take all the, tallies from all the different news organizations and the media people, and then they would pick who the most popular was, and that's who would get invited. I don't know how they do it anymore. There's no media organizations. I've never seen a list sent to me anymore. So I'm assuming they internally decide, and so he might have just gotten missed. I have no idea, to be honest with you. It always stinks. We always hear about this every once in a while, of someone not getting invited. I've seen in the past when they used to have the Ironman the week before the Arnold, I've seen guys win the Ironman, they weren't on the list, and all of a sudden, boom, they're at the Arnold the next week because they added them to the list. So I don't know if there's any way to do that anymore because there's really no shows prior to the Arnold. The Arnold seems to be the first big show of the year. But anything's possible, I guess.
Let's go to Andreas Alupis. Dave, my question is, what was your rest time between sets in the offseason to keep the intensity high?
When I would do heavy leg work or back workouts, and I'm squatting, 5 plates and then I'm going up to 6 plates, I might rest 3 to 4 minutes. My goal was to get my breath back, to feel like I was full powered again, but not to wait too long where I was cold. Because every once in a while you get distracted, you're talking to someone and 10 minutes passes between a set, and then you try to get back under that bar and it's like you got to warm up again. It's like you've ruined the whole continuity. So you want to take enough rest so that you feel ready to go again, but you don't want to take too long where your muscles are starting to cool down and now they're not going to be wanting to contract, fully. You want to make sure that blood stays in the muscle.
Let's go to Sean Corrigan, PT. What do you think is the biggest mistake people make when trying to grow? Is it undereating, overtraining, lacking sleep, poor supplementation, anything else? Your opinion?
It's usually a combination of all of the above, but lately I've been seeing that a lot of people. I did a video on training, hardcore high intensity training, and how to build muscle. And there'll be the Dorian Yates interview I did, which is going to reiterate kind of what I said. And a lot of people took notice, and they emailed me and they said, I have weak legs. Do you think I should be training it less? I always thought, train it more. I was doing double workouts every week for my legs, or my back's weak. I'm training my back 3 times a week because Rich Piana said, train a weak body part every day. I tell people, if you have a weak body part, train it less. Don't train it more. If you're training it once a week, maybe train it every 8 or 9 days. Don't train it double that because you're obviously having problems with recovery. If you have a good body part, you should be able to train it more frequently because it recovers better, which doesn't mean you should do that anyway. But I'm just saying, like Ronnie Coleman had no weaknesses. He was a genetic freak. He trained each body part twice a week and he used high volume and heavy weight. No one can do that. No one else can do that. Anyone who tries to emulate that will fail, okay? I don't think that there's many people out there who can recover from doing each body part twice a week and can keep that mental freshness about the whole thing. Because what happens is you get burned out. You're like, oh no, I got to do arms again. I got to do chest again. I just did them 3 days ago. It's just hard to give 100% to something when you're constantly doing it. And you're never really getting enough rest to kind of recover. So for me, once a week was a minimum. After actually a little later in my career, I started doing each body part once every 8 days. So I was getting even more rest than every 7 days. I think what you'll find is, though, that if you cut back your training and increase your intensity in the workouts you are doing, that doesn't mean volume, it means intensity. How hard you train, how heavy you train, how much mental focus you put in it, you'll improve your body parts and you'll be putting in a lot less effort.
Let's go to Physique 85. What are your thoughts on DMSO for treating inflammation and sore muscles, and do you think it's safe to use as an application as long as you're in a sterile environment, like at home, after a shower, or before bed?
Yeah, DMSO or dimethyl sulfoxide is a chemical essentially that helps things pass through the skin. So if you rub it on with another cream, it'll make the cream penetrate. But for some reason, it has in its own right anti-inflammatory, abilities. So if you rub it on like a sore shoulder, it reduces inflammation. The problem with it is that it makes you smell like garlic. Stink. It has it's so offensive that that no one will want to be around you. Okay, we used to use it back in the day. We used to put thiomucase, which was this cream from France, on that kind of shrunk the fat cells and dehydrated them. We would rub that on with DMSO and then go in a tanning bed. And I don't, it seemed to work. Who knows? I was 22 years old, 24 years old. It looked like it worked. I probably didn't need it, but I stunk. I walked around stinking like garlic, and I'm sure people didn't like that smell. So there's an oral form of DMSO that will have the same anti-inflammatory effect. And that's called MSM, or methylsulfonyl-methane. And I have that in my Arthrolyze formula because it really does work great for joint repair and reducing of inflammation. You need to take at least 4 grams of the stuff a day orally. Most people don't take enough of it. They don't get the right benefits. If you take my Arthrolyze, a lot of guys out there use Arthrolyze, especially if they train real hardcore, if they got injuries. You take 5 pills twice a day, and you get the 4 grams of the MSM. You also get the 4 grams of glucosamine, which is also necessary for joint repair. So you don't have to use DMSO anymore. Like I said, you could take it orally. You get the same benefits in terms of joint relief out of it. It's not going to help stuff go through your skin. But if you're using it for joint health and just for feeling good, then I would recommend the oral form of it.
Let's go to Earth to Frank. Would you say arachidonic acid is ideal for people coming out of a contest prep due to the fact that they've been so depleted for so long? How much meat would how much meat would a person have to eat per day to replenish the necessary amount of arachidonic acid for the same benefit as supplementing with Bill Llewellyn's Factor X product?
Mm-hmm. Now, if you're eating red meat and chicken on a regular basis, you're probably not that arachidonic acid depleted. Even though you're dieting, your body, you're taking in a lot of it. Your body can store the stuff in the cell membranes. What Bill Llewellyn's product does, Factor X, and I sell it at DavePalumbo.com. I probably have it the cheapest priced out there. So a lot of people buy it from me. And what it is you can use it pre-contest. You can actually use it off-season. It's like loading arachidonic acid into the muscles and storing it in the cell membranes just for that little extra boost. Because let's face it, when we work out hard and when our body fat is very low, our body eats up these essential fats. And arachidonic acid is technically an essential fatty acid. The reason why we don't necessarily take supplements of it all the time is because we take in a lot from our diet. But the research has shown, and that's why I had Bill Llewellyn on my show, and I didn't even know this, that taking extra arachidonic acid will definitely have a performance benefit. So a lot of guys have been buying it from my site and telling me, Dave, I feel so sore after taking this stuff. And that's really what arachidonic does. It's a precursor to prostaglandins. So when you feel that soreness, you're producing more prostaglandins. So we know it works. The soreness factor verifies that it's increasing prostaglandin synthesis, which is obviously a necessary signal for muscle repair. Remember, that arachidonic-induced inflammatory response, is not the same inflammatory response you get when you have arthritis. It's a signal. It's your body telling, IGF-1 and growth hormone and protein, hey, come over here, guys. We're injured. Build us bigger. So I think it's a great supplement. If I was training back, like I was in the 90s and 2000s, and arachidonic acid Factor X was a supplement available, I would definitely have been on taking it at the time because I think it definitely has a benefit. That's the reason I sell it. Once Bill showed me the research and I really looked at it and I said, holy mackerel, and I actually have a couple of my clients who tried it, and they were telling me that they're feeling sore and they're feeling good. I said, I got to sell this stuff because it's unique. I can make it myself, but you know what? Bill has done the research. He's done the marketing. He's branded it. I have no problem selling other people's products when they have a good product. It's terrific. I recommend you, if you hit a plateau, give it a shot. You'll tell me if it works.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com. Reminder, all the interviews from the Dubai Muscle Show are going to be deployed over the course of the next 7 to 10-ish days. But right now at RxMuscle.com, part 1 and part 2 of the Kai Green interview, his exact words as far as, from his perspective, what took place on the 2014 Olympia stage, that near confrontation between he and Phil Heath, and whether or not we will see him at a future Olympia. Also right now, Dana Lynn Bailey and Arash Rabar. Tomorrow, early tomorrow, we're going to have the sit-down interview between Dave and Sean Ray talking about the provisional Arnold Classic list. Let's go to Jennings 0625. Now, we get questions all the time about your thoughts, Dave, on pro hormones in general. But his question is, what do you think about companies still selling pro hormones despite the, recent market conditions?
Well, they're illegal now. They're controlled substances. So I don't know why, if I was a supplement company, I certainly wouldn't sell it. You got to be out of your mind. So that tells me that probably most of the pro hormones that are being sold now are probably fake and they're not really pro hormones, because I don't think anyone is stupid enough to sell something. It would be like you might as well just sell anabolic steroids at that point. They're the same classification. So probably the ones out there that are being sold are just not really doing much. And the ones that are doing something, people are just crazy to sell them, and they won't be around for very long, I can promise you that. I do want to make an announcement, Sid, because I just got a text message back from Bob Lorimer, who's the co-promoter with Arnold Schwarzenegger of the Arnold Classic, and he said the reason they got rid of the 212 division this year was because the last 3 years he felt that there was not enough interest from the top 212 guys to even do the show, so they didn't feel like they felt like supporting the division if they weren't going to get top interest. Now, that obviously was an executive decision that they made. It may or may not be true. I mean, we haven't seen the top names, entering the last couple of years. But, I think there's been a changing of the guard, too, with Flex Lewis leaving. I think now we're going to see, and Jose Raymond leaving, I think we're going to see new guys. So I wish they would have kept it, another year and just allowed some of the new talent now that's coming up to enter into that space. I think we would have seen a revival. I mean, look, sometimes we see the Open Arnold Classic is not that great either, and some years. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it gets great again. So it's ebbs and flows, but that's the decision that came from above. They said that the interest was not there from the top guys in the 212 division, and that's why they are not doing it this year.
Well, thank you, Bob Lorimer, for getting back to us so quickly. And, of course, the timing of it allowing us to announce that on this broadcast. Let's go to Lucas Cangelosi. Your thoughts on DECA as a base instead of testosterone for a first cycle?
I don't have a problem with that. For first cycle, I think the DECA, Equipoise, Masteron, Anavar, Winstrol, I think there's really no rules. There's nothing you can do wrong as a first cycle. I mean, probably weaker is better because you're going to respond to anything you do. I've said this before. So as a base, I have no problem with DECA, although you got to remember, some people have issues with DECA because of high prolactin. It could affect sex drive. But other than that, I'm all in favor.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask Dave. A reminder, Dave goes into surgery next week, but we will have loads of content all throughout the week. And, of course, videos from the hospital. If anyone of note goes to visit Dave at the hospital, we'll be sure to have full documentation of that. Of course, the Dubai Muscle Show interviews will be peppered throughout the course of the next 2 weeks on rxmuscle.com and the RX Muscle YouTube channel. For Dave Palumbo and Tyler Shore, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.